Oh, it's not your fault. It's not like you're the developer. I don't care. It doesn't bring me joy. We go next. Why is this belt like a pain in the ass? A classique. Can this please just stay on? Not what I wanted. Oops. I have some characters unlocked. They tanned her up. She's real tan right there. Oh. Oh my god, I forgot about the Pokemon map. This map needs to come back. Fountain of Dreams. Oh, did it really? Is it in the new one? Oh, one of the Icehammers is dead. Oh, what the? Oh, that's not generous like the new games. We just got done playing Smash Ultimate, so I'm like used to the controls. She did not. Oh. Oh my god, her parasol is like not the T. Oh, fuck you. Where did Zapdos go? He said, I'm out. Bro said, fuck this shit, I'm out. We're about to go into sudden death. Jesus Christ.
Sudden death. Go! Game.
8.
This game's winner is Peach.
God, the noises make me feel so nostalgic. I miss this era.
Choose your character. Zelda. Versus Pikachu. Ready?
Pikachu!
Go!
I changed the... I should have made it not very easy. Well...
Versus Team Samus.
Oh, girl, not the stuttering. You're good. You're fine. Girl, you're fine. Why is it stuttering so much? Like, it's literally fine. Oh! Oh my god, the bottom of the map saved me. I should have not survived that. But I did. Because I'm a baddie.
Break the targets.
Oh, I love these stages. How do you expect me to get that? It doesn't do damage in this game? What? Wait, that.
Versus Link. Ready? Go!
Me and who? Okay. Well, it was instant transformation in this game, and then in Brawl they nerfed her. So rotted. Trying to give you the follow.
Giant Bowser.
Giant Bowser.
Ready?
Fave stage.
Game. Bonus stage. Ready? Go!
Oh, that was so close. No!
Success! Versus Captain Falcon. Ready? Go!
The way I gagged him in 10 seconds. Cleared.
Versus Team Donkey Kong. Ready? Go! Race to the finish. Ready? Go!
2 2 2 2 2 2 2
Complete. Versus Metabayo. Ready? Go!
I just saved him like an idiot. Easy. The standing still sends me.
Congratulations!
Work. Oh. I don't think I've done anyone in the adventure mode. The adventure mode in this game, I fucking loved. Something about it is just so good to me.
Ready? Go!
Can I pick this up? It's a classic. I love the polygons. I don't know. I love a game with polygons. Like, I like to see the, like, bad graphics. She makes no distance with her butt smash in this. She goes, like, too... I never get to see these game modes anymore, and I play Melee all the time. Please. What's Slippy?
Ready?
Wait, he's cheating on me with Daisy? You're fucked. Yeah, I don't do that. He is. I mean, he doesn't deserve any of them, but... She just gagged the fuck out of him. I just love the adventure mode in this series. Have you seen the game theory that like Luigi is like Rosalina's dad or some bullshit? I'm like, what is happening? The frying pan sound effect. Ready? I loved the Mario movie. Loved it. Like, I would go 5 times over. If I could. I think it's that good. Like, there were references to every single Mario game. It was insane. Like, they did Mario Galaxy, they did Super Smash Bros, they did Mario Kart, they did Odyssey, they did... It was just so cute to see, like, all of the little references to it. Like, all the different... Because I didn't realize how much of a Mario fan I was until I watched the movie. I was like, oh my god, that's from that game, and that's from that game. And I was like, this is so cute. These enemies, these are called Redeads from Zelda. They scared me so bad as a kid. I realized I had these enemies in this game. Girl, get out of here. Four swords. Nice reference to Legend of Zelda. 4 swords. Oh, why'd he gag me like that? Oh, why'd he gag me like that? play it. It's on the eShop, but like the remake, I want to try it. Oh, these things scared me too. I don't like that. I miss Mario Galaxy. I want to stream it. There's so many games I want to play. Is this a dead end? What the? I've never been to this part of the map. Get off me! Oh, she clocked him. The way I almost passed that. I got so unlucky with the spawns on that. Sometimes you can get it on the first try. I went through all 4 different spots. Hey, queen! Or having just a basic umbrella is so weird. Just a basic white umbrella in this game. Oh my god, I forgot. You have to like escape. This was camp. I missed the company that made this in Kirby Air Ride. Like, they need to come back. Girl. Woo! Kirby! Oh yeah, I love that. I think I have one. I don't know where it is though. Hi, Time and Dave. Coming for my title for what? And when I do this, I missed. He clocked me. Oh, I loved this. All the different hats. My hat's incredible. Runway would be a Kirby hat. Look at the Donkey Kong one. I like when he puts on a wig. For some of the characters, he just puts a wig on. Why'd he drop in like that with a smile? Love this song. Dun, 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 dun. Who's shaking their ass to this? Who touching their Kirby? What would you do if you okay and then he said yes and would you go and yes into and hi Donnie. What the fuck? Okay, why I gagged him. He was gagged. That song goes hard. Cornea? Your cleats are stuck in my cornea.
Ready? Go!
Do you guys want to see a secret? Can you do it in this game? That wasn't what I was gonna do, but that was an interesting decision made by Fox there. All right.
Fox, we've come to help. Looks like you've taken a beating.
Girl, your friend's dead in a ditch.
Ready?
He just tried to clock me. You just shot your friend. You're shooting your friend. You haven't shot me yet. You shot your friend again. You just shot him in the sky again. Okay. Very good tea. This guy had a Pokemon.
Ready? Go!
The random Jigglypuff in the lineup. I would like to do this. Who's your favorite Pokemon of all time? Everybody knows mine. Do you know what my do you know what Pokemon I love? Do you know what Pokemon I love? Do you know who my favorite is? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Do you guys know? Do you know? Some people ask me that. Some people go, Nem, who's your favorite Pokemon? I'm like, do you look in the description? Do you look at my emotes? I'm like, do you look at my everything? It's like my entire personality almost. That's so real though. There's so many Pokemon. I'd be like, what the? Does Peach have red heels in the new Smash? Does she still rock a Louboutin? Ooh. Can't keep my hands to myself. Period. She loves a Luby.
Complete. Ready? Go!
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's not. That's embarrassing.
Ready? Go!
What's up, losers? What's up, nerds? The bat. You guys just got gagged. LOL. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Icicle Mountain. Big A fire, big A fire. I have to climb it? Oh, I do. I only have 1 life left, so Polar Bear in the Speedo I used to think was hot when I was a kid. I was like, wait, he's kind of hot. I'd be like, wait, I want to see more people in Speedos. Gay Awakening. She literally says dope. I am not. You guys just aren't fun. Now that's a more accurate statement. Wait, Peach can literally cheat on this. Well, that sucks.
Continue.
Was something potentially weirder? Oh, I knew that about you. Sorry.
Ready? Go!
I honestly don't know what... I had a lot of gay awakenings and a lot of trans awakenings. A lot of media, a lot of video games. That's honestly so real of you. Do you remember that one photo shoot Nick Jonas did in like the Calvin Klein with his like penis out? That did something to me. Loser. Literally something shifted. I mean, to be fair, the boxer aisle and the underwear aisle in the Marshalls back in the day would do it for me. I'd be like, whoa. What the fuck? Oh, I remember this is Zero Suit Samus's model. Hey, Queen. Oh no, it's Zelda's model. Captain Falcon could get it too. I was like, oh, he's hot. I just love beefy buff men. You know, that's like so, yeah, but like yeah, thighs and like giant titties. Like, Snake would do it, yeah.
Ready? Go!
I say I'm all talk, but in person, if somebody were to be like, yeah, let's do it, baby, I'd be like, get the fuck away from me. There's only a couple of people I'd be like, okay, down. Like if The Miz from WWE or Finn Balor asked me, I would say yes. But like, I think that's like where the where the line is. Real. No, you're real. LA Knight. He is fine. I was supposed to be in the video. I'll never forget the. I'm not a hookup gal. Oh yeah, Cloud is hot, but also like I'll never forget. What? Anyways, I'll never forget when like years ago when I tried to hook up with some guy or whatever bullshit, and like we like kissed at the bar and he was like, yeah, you're staying at the same hotel or whatever, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And he was like, yeah, I'll meet you back there, blah, blah, blah. And then when we got to the hotel room, he was like trying to like kiss or whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah, we can probably go further or whatever bullshit. And he was like, no, I want this to last forever. Like, I want this to mean something. I want us to go and last longer than just tonight. And then he ghosted me and I never heard from him again. I was like, okay. And then he sat there the entire time and did nothing. I was like, what? Like the most bizarre thing I've ever had to experience. I was like, okay.
Choose your character. Jigglypuff.
Yeah, I'm really not a hookup gal. I mean, I would like to believe that I'm demisexual. I would like to identify as that, so.
Versus Fox. Ready? Go.
What is this outfit? Oh, it's a little bow. It's a blue little bow. Does she have the rest in this? She does. Work.
Versus Team Kirby. Ready? Go.
Yeah, I didn't know. I know asexual and demisexual, but I never knew that until like this year that demi and asexual are like not the same thing, but like when it was asexual awareness day a couple weeks ago, everybody was like demisexual, asexual, celebrate, love each other, and I was like, I didn't know they were like hand in hand, because you know like how non-binary and trans, it's like under the trans umbrella. I didn't know it was the same case for demi and asexual. I didn't know that, unless I'm incorrect, but that's what I saw online. You can mash out of it and kill any puff. Well, not me. I'm just built different. But this looks fun. Okay. 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 What the fuck? Still so weird to me how Nintendo in the GameCube era got a live orchestra for Smash and Melee, and Star Fox Assault but did not for Twilight Princess and Mario Sunshine, even though that is weird. Huh. Listen, I'm a big Super Mario Sunshine fan. That's like my game. That's one of my big threes. I think if I had to say my big three for video games, like of all time, it's probably Jak and Daxter, Precursor Legacy, Super Mario Sunshine, and I want to say Kirby Air Ride, but I don't know. Like, what would you guys say? Like, what's besides Jack and Daxter and Sunshine?
Game. Versus Giant Mario. Ready? Go.
Oh no, you can say it's a bad game here. I don't like it at all, really. I like it from afar. I cannot play it. Oh, stretch.
Bonus stage. Ready? Go. Success. Versus.
I'm like trying to think of like what mine would be besides Sunshine and Jack and Daxter. Oh, honestly, I don't know actually. I was gonna say Shadow of the Colossus, but I played that like 2 years ago. I wouldn't say that like defined me, but that game is like so motherfucking good. Yeah, I was gonna say Borderlands a little bit. It's hard to say big three for games. Like, there's so many games that raised me. I don't know. Like, looking around my room, like, what am I loving? Like, what do I love so much that I would die for it? And I feel like I have the answer, but like, I don't know. Honestly, I think it's a toss-up between Crash Twinsanity and Kirby Air Ride. For like growing up defined me, those are my iconic games. I think that's my big three. I played the shit out of Crash Twinsanity. But also the Crash games in general. Oh no, maybe Poke Park. Poke Park 2. That's probably my answer then. So it would be Poke Park 2, Jack and Daxter, and Super Mario Sunshine. Mario Kart DS, Guitar Hero 6. That's such a niche like one, Guitar Hero 6, specifically that. Yeah, I would say those are my childhood big three. For like now, my big three would probably be Fire Album, Three Houses Are Engaged, Overwatch. Let's do story games. Let's not do those. Fire Engaged, Three Houses, Shadow of the Colossus, and probably Bayonetta 2.
Race to the finish. Ready? Go.
Welcome in.
Complete.
Hello, hello. I have to pee, but I'm like, I don't want to get up. Oh, we're almost done with it anyway. I'll do it after we... Watch me gag them real quick. Come here. Ha! Do you really have a 3 houses tattoo? I feel like you've showed me and I just didn't. Who are you telling what to say and not to say? It's gag. Oh, you did show me, yeah. I agree. I just went through a full ass video of like best GameCube games and I like wrote all of them down. Chibi Robo should be on there. Chibi Robo's a good game. Definitely would like to stream that. Bro, Jigglypuff gags. She clears. Easy. Her air combo potential is insane. I couldn't imagine doing like... Oh yes! I was actually, Chalora has streamed it. Friend of the pod, Stream Queen's member. They've streamed it and they were like telling me how hard it was to get their hands on Chibi Robo. I remember them talking about it. You can go watch their stream of it. Oh, I fuck with that game down. There's a lot. I missed that era of like video games, TV, and like Pixar, like how they would make a video game of everything. Oh, not the double raid. Satin and Bella, my loves, thank you so much for the raids. Thank you so much for the double raid. I appreciate and love you. Is it Wednesday? Is it the dumb bitch Wednesdays? It was, sure fucking was.
Congratulations!
I love that we've been planning to do dumb bitch Wednesdays together for like 2 years now and we have not done it. It's actually kind of, it's like camp that we haven't now. It's kind of like a joke on itself. Thank you so much for the raids. I appreciate you guys. Please follow friends of the pod, Bella and Satin. I love them so much and appreciate them. Love them, love them. I need to see you guys soon. I also need to come to Chicago soon, like ASAP. But we're playing Melee. We do this thing basically every stream now. We end the stream with a fighting game, a 2D fighter game. So if you're down with that, I would love to have you. I need to tell you, you look so fucking hot in brown hair. Not me picking my nose. Sorry, allergy season is wrecking my shit. Thank you though. Thank you, Satin. I bet you look stunning. I mean, nobody's surprised. You always look so put together and gorgeous. And Bella, I love you so much. You know how much I fucking love you, bitch. Everybody, please follow my friends. I love them a lot. Why am I not unlocking characters? Like, where are the characters at? Where is the news in the media? I love you, I love you, I love you. So true. Bitch, I really need to get my ass out there. I haven't been yet, like at all, like ever in my life. I need to get out there. The characters have really, ew. I don't even have Luigi. Bella and Satin, if you haven't, you need to go see the Mario movie. It was so cute. Oh! Trashly, you too. You need to see the Mario movie. Trashly, thank you for the raid. Thank you all so much. Everybody is coming in. So many triple raid, drag, gorgeousness. Ironically enough, I was literally talking about you earlier, Trashly. I was like, here is some etiquette. Like I used to go, like back in the day, like just going into Friends of the Pod, Stream Queen, like drag people on Twitch and be like, hi, how are you? And get to know them. Because we were talking about how people get real comfortable with drag artists and they start reading them without even knowing them. And I was like, it wasn't until like year 3 I was like comfortable enough to be shady with some of the girls on Twitch. Like y'all get way too comfortable so fast. And I mentioned like you, dear, like everybody, yeah. I was like, don't just walk up into someone's chat and be like rude as fuck. Anyways, that's what we were talking about earlier. So thanks for the raid. I literally same. Fully. No, you get it though. You get it. You got it. Should I stop? No. You can use the fart command if you're a subscriber. You can unlock Luigi by having a timer set on 2 in adventure mode in the first level. Anybody coming in, I'm Nem, I'm trans, I do drag, I like wrestling. If you like wrestling, if you like fighter games, if you like retro stuff, this is your place to be. Would love to have you when Trashly isn't live, but also if you're from me, please follow Trashly. I appreciate them a lot. If y'all liked my WrestleMania review, everybody say thank you, Trashly, because Trashly helped me out with that, so. Who have we not done yet? Let's do Gay Captain Falcon. No, seriously, thank you so much for that too. Kay was like, did you get it together? I was like, yes, I did. Because Kay and I were in the chat talking about it. I was like, it took me a hot minute. I don't think I did it like the way you probably do it. Mine was like a little botchy, but I was like, at least I got it working. Just because, like, literally WWE, I uploaded a video on YouTube of me playing their video game, and it got taken down, like, in seconds because of a 2-second clip. And I was like, okay, so it's gonna be impossible to do anything with WrestleMania. But it helped. Doing the, like, pictures. Oh, and anybody coming in, my pronouns are she, her. Please don't misgender me or I will pee. Speaking of pee, I said I was gonna go pee. Show me your boobs. That's a lot up there. You know what? You have fun up there, girl. Do you think Captain Falcon is hot? Yes or no? Okay. Perfect. You disagree. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh my god, you guys don't think he's hot? Wow, I'm shocked. Oh my god. He has a nice butt. We love a nice butt. Oh, that's because I know you, Donnie, but like literally we were talking about it earlier. We were like, some people just like roll up into chat and you see the first time chatter and they like drag you to filth. And I'm like, who are you? Like, that isn't the tea. Okay, but like, you have been around here. It's not like you're a new member. Like, you've paid your dues. It's just kind of like, it's literally like a drag show. Like, that's how I equated it to. It's like you go to a drag show. Like, if you're trying to start out in the scene, you go to the drag show, you support them without I'm about to die. You go to the drag show, you support them without asking for the bookings and asking too many questions. You just go out, you go introduce yourself, you go in drag to make a name, you go network, and then like you go a couple times to get a familiarity with it, and then you'll get asked back, or you get like new friends, or you can start being shady with them when whatever. But like, you don't just go up to a queen and you're like, I'm Fierce Mama T Wig, yes God, your lashes are crooked, baby. Like, you don't just do that. Like, you gain a familiarity with people, you sit, you make yourself known, you understand that person's humor. Like, I don't know. That's why I think like a lot of people, like the drag community here on Twitch has a good grasp at like, okay, this is how it goes. We're not gonna be weird about it. Because like literally that's what we do in the scene. Like, you go to a bar in drag, sometimes you don't even get paid, you introduce yourself. That's how we all started out. So. Like, I don't think I've had a bad experience with somebody on Twitch that does drag, just cause like, we get it. It's always the twinks that are stupid about it. They just walk up to a chat and they're like, you look Booger boots with your lace, mama. I'm like, what the fuck? Who are you? And they're like, I was just kidding, baby. I'm like, fuck off. Good morning. What was Trashly playing? Was Trashly playing DVD with everybody? Or did it just so happen to get raided at the same time as everybody? Can you please? Oh my god. Ugh. People have no class. Did we all not just live through COVID? Like what? That's why I'm so blessed to have resting bitch face, and I'm also sometimes a bitch, so people stay the fuck away from me because that's what I want. I want to be left alone sometimes. He got gagged.
Bonus stage. Ready? Go!
Show me your moves.
Well, fully.
Success!
Also, the way like everybody made, even Beck made Jade out to be the crazy girl in the relationship when she wasn't. When Beck fully cheated on Jade, when Jade did nothing wrong, still drives me nuts. She's just like me. I know that person. That's like his gimmick, I guess. Is kissing people on the red carpet. I'm glad he asks, but it's just not for me. I would tell him no. She had every right to be. Go.
Race to the finish. Ready? Complete.
Well,
Mental Donkey
I mean, you're not
Kong.
wrong.
Ready? Go!
You know what I'm missing? A Domino's pizza. That's not the way I was pushing him. Girl! Okay. Thanks. Yeah, my ex said he didn't like Rina Sawayama, and that should have been the biggest red flag of my life. I don't know why I didn't. There were so many red flags. She's so good. Like,
Congratulations!
there was also something very overtly stupid that I was like, why are you doing this? Where are the events? I keep like, what's up? Kirik, I'm Kirika. Wait till you see me on my bike. Welcome in. I don't know who I want to play here. Pikachu? Is that Pikachu in a fedora?
Ready? Go!
Wait till you see me on my bike. Is this seriously a fedora? Or is it a cowboy hat? It's a cowboy hat. I feel like that was unnecessary. We come back. Okay, I'll fuck myself, I guess. I'm playing on GameCube. Fuck. No, I don't like this anymore. No.
Choose your character. Choose your character. Pikachu.
Wait till well, there's an intro this season of Tracer on a bike, and I'm like, why didn't you give it to Kiriko? Wait, yeah, we do have to wait to see her on her bike. We've been waiting to see her on her bike. That's actually a gag. Okay, the brown hair is actually giving today. I need to go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Oh my god, I haven't stood up in a minute. We accept all. Hello. We're doing all the 2D fighter games. Melee, Smash, Brawl, and then we do Capcom games, Guilty Gear. Oh, I should have done Guilty Gear. I'm so stupid. The new character came out and I didn't even stream it. Well. What are you talking about? Yeah, it is. Actually. Oh, y'all want to catch a band? I know you're not trying it.
Versus Yoshi. Ready? Go!
Oh, I got a Get Pokin tournament. That's a good one. Get gagged.
Versus Team Pikachu. Ready? Go!
Who am I? Oh. Wait, look, he's so cute. Little curly Q. Who are we even fighting right now?
Break the targets. Ready? Go!
Oh, they changed the colors! It's so colorful and pretty. Ah, Kirby! Okay. It's so weird going from Ultimate to this. I'm like, there's so much momentum lost because Ultimate is so fast. Same. I mean, I feel like any character can be good if you like can get their tech, but I'm just not that good, so. Same, I missed the break the targets thing. I missed like the little challenges from this. Can you please? What is your problem? I actually am. I'm so good at Steve. Thank you. I just wanted the little hat. I just wanted the silly hat. Wait. Stop. I forgot I have this move. Okay. Are we in the melee category on Twitch? Yeah, you are. That explains a lot. Hey, Jack.
Versus Giant Donkey Kong. Ready? Go!
Marshall, put us in the Mario Kart category.
Bonus stage. Ready? Go!
I should put chat in sub-only mode. Run
Success
20-minute ads.
versus Ice Climbers. Ready?
It's just funny. Is blue Kirby or yellow Kirby the one named Kibby? I'm not gonna know what category it is. Perfect. Oh! I just smacked the shit out of the Goomba. The way Kirby just has outfits on outfits. Like, okay. Okay. Kirby sounds like he says Yoshi. Oh, gagged.
Versus Team Mario. Ready?
Team Mardio. Girl! Oh, I thought you were like saying you are. I was like, what the? But I put it into context. Stop just like lightly punching me. That's so mean. I'm literally being oh! Okay, well you're a flop, so. Please stop! Acorn. Okay.
Race to the finish. Ready? Go! Complete.
I just do not GAF about the race to the finish.
Versus Metal Peach. Ready? Go!
Oh! That is embarrassing. I forgot in this game they don't have multiple taunts. That kind of sucks. Oh. That was an aggressive tongue pop. Oh, the glass. Please no, I don't want to die. What the? Multiple emotes. Did I say tops? I must have just gotten my tee shot, huh? I still can't believe I clocked Curtis earlier. That was so funny. You just had to be there. No, Kirby! When I die, you get a game over. No, like, you just had to. How? Never mind. The Jigglypuff one? Yeah, honestly. Also, guys. That Bayonetta game. Wow. So bad.
Congrats.
I'm just not a fan.
Choose your character.
Yeah. Tried it again earlier, gave it one last shot. Oof. Woof. I can't tell you to do that. Nor do I think... We're gonna move on. We're gonna edit that out. Who haven't I done yet that I want to play? I wish Lucas was in this.
Versus Link. Ready? Go.
Thinking about the like key combination you had to do in Brawl, like to make her like naked or whatever, to make her Zero Suit Samus.
Versus Team Donkey Kong. Ready? Go.
Does he have the spike in this game? Oh Jesus, I forgot his recovery. That is so embarrassing. Who did that? Who just died? That wasn't me. Oh my god, stop. I forgot Mewtwo is in this game. Pichu's in this game too! I start crying. I remember being such a Pichu stan.
Break the targets. Ready? Go.
Can you just... Oh, you can. I love him. I like don't even... I'm surprised I didn't take it out for... Okay, well that's just gonna be impossible. Okay. Well. I don't think I would have won that anyway.
Kirby. Ready? Go!
Okay, that was so unnecessary. Oh, he's so cute! Murders him. Okay. Oh.
Versus Giant Bowser. Ready? Go!
Guys, what am I gonna have for dinner? I just want to go on vacation. I want to go to Super Mario World in LA or California, whatever bullshit. Well done, mama.
Bonus stage. Ready? Go!
Well done, mama. It's Toad. We have to win him. We got it, y'all. Nobody panic. Wait a second. Oh! That's the first time I've ever gotten all three. My fucking mind.
Ready? Go!
Well done, mama. I can't believe Stay with me, chat. I can't believe after today that I've said it twice in the same stream that someone seconds after I ended the conversation about not making jokes and being rude as fuck as soon as you enter my chat did it the second after we had that conversation finished. That is so fucking funny to me. That's camp. That's camp. We're playing all the 2D fighters. This isn't a 2D fighter. This is a platforming brawler, an FPS shooter. Who do you think you are? You want to talk back to the doll? Is it that serious? Not with your first message. It's a fighting game. Like, also, girl, hold on.
Race to the finish. Ready? Go! Complete.
Hold.
Versus Metal Pikachu. Ready? Go!
Even if that person was trying to say it. What is this called? What are we walking in? Oh, that's right. It's a It's 2D platform. Fighting game. Fight. 2D. Like there's only a platform. You're in the wrong category. You're in the wrong category! Nemesis! You're in the wrong category! I know people don't mean well, but it literally is so insane to me all the time. You're Nemesis. Nem! You're in the wrong category. Nemesis. You're in the wrong category. It's always like first time chatters too. They're always like, hey, you're in the wrong category. I'm like, girl, I know. I'm actually. Yeah, meanwhile, I literally have like, I have a mod team, but half of them is in school, half of them have work, one of them is in the chat, like, like I got one, and like, can we just be patient summoner. One of them falls asleep at every moment in the chat when we're not playing Princess Peach or Wizard 101. Yeah, it's not that bad at all. Me when I'm delusional. This is like Texas all over again.
Congratulations!
I love Mr. Saturn. That's gender. Want to be.
Choose your character. Ice Climbers versus Donkey Kong. Ready? Go!
Stop. I'm not ready. Wait, the Ice Climbers being the trans flag? The transification of the Ice Climbers. I mean, honestly, they are so gender. Not because their colors are literally gender reveal, but like, they're so gender envy. Okay, was the Suicune necessary? I keep forgetting the, oh! Anyways, Team Sasha Colby.
Break the targets. Ready? Go!
Wait, why am I the only one? Where's Nana? Yeah, literally, Lex and I follow each other, and I'm like, yeah, Team Sasha Colby. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. I love her though. Like, it makes me mad how people treat her. Like, not too much on my sister. Oh, wow. Wait, you're saying you want to fuck RuPaul? What? Literally, like, hello? Where is the last one? Oh, hello. Hey! Give that back. What the fuck? Okay. Na na po po. Na na po po. But do you think when if to have to but to and to when and why? Do you ever think that?
Versus Giant Mario. Ready? Go!
All I want is the twins to be on All Stars, and then I'll be fine. That was so rude. The belt just like snapped off.
Bonus stage.
And them in the reunion just living in their own world, nobody understanding them. I was like, they're so real. When they do a Mario and Luigi look, wait, that actually would be cute.
Success. Versus Yoshi.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that though. I mean, they're right. I don't think they would cast them for separate seasons though. There's no way they would. What the? What the? Okay. I love Jasmine Kennedy.
Team Captain Falcon. Ready? Go!
I need to meet her. She's so lovely.
Race to the finish. Ready? Go! Complete.
She is so gorge. I'm obsessed.
Versus Meta Pikachu.
got you. They're like not in unison in this game. It's weird.
It's boss time!
Fuck. Girl, get out of there! It wasn't that delayed.
Now to go home and have the rest of that pasta.
That was a lot of stories we did. I ate that. Oh, that's so cute. The retro picture of them. I'm the motherfucking queen of drag. I'm impressed by you.
Congratulations!
So I sure fucking did get the Ice Climbers trophy. You're damn right. Okay, I'm ending stream. I've had enough. Who we raiding? I have no idea. Is anybody even on? God, I didn't reach so far. Shut up. Didn't we ban them? That's so funny. Is anybody like from my follow list live? You really look like you're about to raid somebody. Like, please. Some person always would be like, oh. No, you're right. That's so embarrassing. Okay, like everybody's ending stream, so I'm gonna raid somebody that just started stream. Okay, everybody give Lady my love. I'm gonna go take pictures. I'm gonna go shower. Stay to play tomorrow. So I'll be live again tomorrow. And we'll do some shit. Let's do some stupid shit. And then I won't be live Friday because the Drag Race finale and I'd like to watch it myself. So thank you so much. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for hanging. See you on the next one. Give Lady my love. And